Good day to you all. Namaste, Hare Krishna. So today we'd like to talk on the topic of fear, the right amount of fear and the right kind of fear. So as we've mentioned previously, according to the Vedas, there's 4 different necessities of the body. And that goes not only for humans, but for all species of life. So that's eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And that 4th one, defending, comes from fear. Why do we defend? Because there's a fear mechanism there. So we've talked about the other 3 to some degree, but we haven't really spoken much about this 4th need that we have to defend and fear. So we'll talk about that today. So it's said that eating and sleeping and mating, we do that to different degrees. We might eat for an hour a day and we might sleep for 6 to 8 hours a day, and sex is not so much time we spend doing that, but fear is always there. Fear is always underlying. And we can see that if you observe around you, just like when a bird, for example, goes down onto the ground to pick up some seeds or whatever it's eating, it'll always be looking around. Why is it looking around? Because it's afraid that some other creature will come and eat me. So that's always there. And we can see that, every creature has, some mechanism usually for protecting itself from being killed. Ultimately that's what we're afraid of, right? Ultimately, what are we afraid of? We're afraid of dying. So there's a fear of death there. And every creature has some mechanism to help protect itself from that. Like you can see, some creatures have sharp claws to fight and protect themselves. Some, like our cows, right? They have horns. That's why farmers often cut off the cow's horns in the dairy industry, because they're afraid, the farmer's afraid that the cow's going to stick them with the horn. And why does the cow have a horn? To protect itself from being injured or death like that. And even like plants, right, like roses, they have sharp thorns. Why do they have sharp thorns? It's the natural mechanism to protect itself from being gobbled up by some, creature like that. Some creatures have real bad, stinky smells to discourage something else from coming and eating them. So there's different mechanisms. And actually humans, we don't have many kind of physical mechanism like that. We don't have the sharp claws or the teeth, and we don't have any bad smells or thorns or anything like that. But we have a very good brain, so with the use of that brain, the human being can, try to protect itself. Unfortunately, we can take that to the extreme amount that we're afraid of death and use our brain to try to counteract death. And we up to the point of like a nuclear bomb, right, which is ridiculous. There's so much fear is there, but by creating these weapons like a nuclear bomb, have we actually stopped death? No. We've actually accelerated it. We've actually accelerated it. Because of just one push of a button, just killed like millions of people, and also animals will die and plants will die, and so much destruction there, death and destruction. So we've got to have the right amount of fear. You know, don't let it take control of your life. This is not good for us. You know, just there should be some, you know, defensive measures there, because some fear of death is there. We have a right to preserve our life. Of course, you can't preserve it forever, right? Everyone knows that in the back of their mind, that sooner or later the body's going to die. You know, that we've always seen that, isn't it? Throughout the history of this world, that everything dies sooner or later. So you preserve the life in this body up to a certain point, but you can't do it forever. So, you know, we try to keep it going for a while. But don't be so crazy that you think that, you know, you're just going to stop death and, you know, by coming up with all these defensive measures and things like that. No, I mean, all that you can do, like I said, is you can accelerate it, but you can't stop it. You know, so we just want to be sensible and not, and you know, control the fear, not let it control us. Because if it's uncontrolled, that fear will just shorten our life. It'll shorten our life. It'll, like I said, you can accelerate death. You know, but you can't extend it indefinitely. So we just try to maintain a healthy state of body for as long as possible, but without being ridiculous. And of course, in human society, previously people used to use bows and arrows and stuff and swords, you know, to protect themselves from someone else trying to hurt them. And now with so-called modern advancement, we've created tanks and missiles and so many, and guns and so many things. And we have defence forces. You know, I mean, individually we're trying to protect ourselves, but also in terms of a whole nation has a defence force, a defence mechanism. You know, we have army, every country has an army, every country has a police force. So we can see there's these defence mechanisms in every species, and we've sort of developed, you know, very, very complicated way based on this principle of fear of death. So, yeah, we have a right to protect ourselves, there's no doubt about that. And we see, like even in USA, right, the Second Amendment is that every citizen has a right of the people to keep arms, you know, and bear arms. That arms means weapons, you know, so that's the principle there. And it's actually quite sensible, I mean, personally, and, you know, according to the Vedas, that was also there. In New Zealand, that's not there. You're not allowed to bear arms to defend yourself, according to the New Zealand law. You're allowed to bear arms, keep arms, weapons for protecting your crops and, you know, protecting your livestock and stuff like that. Farmers can keep like that. And also people that are into hunting, so you're allowed to use a gun to hunt and kill things, but you're not allowed to use a gun in New Zealand to protect yourself from, you know, someone threatening your life. You know, someone's trying to kill you or whatever like that. You're not supposed to get a gun for that purpose. If you try to get a gun license and say that's what you're getting it for, you won't get it. Like that. So there's you know, different cultures have different rules and things like that. But basically that mechanism is there, that, you know, if our life is put in danger, then, you know, we'll try to protect ourselves. Even interestingly, our guru, our spiritual teacher, Prabhupada, one reporter asked him, "What would you do, Swamiji, if someone came to you with a gun to shoot you?" Prabhupada said, "I would take his gun and shoot him." So we might question, why is he saying that? You know, isn't he a spiritual kind of person? Why is a spiritual person, you know, going to kill someone, or, you know, worried about being killed or something like that? Shouldn't we be beyond that, above that? But actually, I mean, in spiritual consciousness, when we have spiritual knowledge, we realize that we're not the body. We realize that we're not the body, that we're an eternal soul. And actually with that knowledge, most of the fear goes away. Because what's all the fear based on? It's based on the body, which we're afraid of growing old, we're afraid of getting sick, we're afraid of dying. But all those things that I mentioned, that's only affecting the body. The soul doesn't grow old, the soul doesn't get sick, the soul doesn't die, the soul's not subject to reincarnation and so forth. The soul's nature is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss. So, and no threat can be there for the soul. It can't be cut by weapons, it can't be burnt by fire, it can't be drowned in the water, it can't be withered by wind. You know, Krishna says that to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. You know, the basis of the India's classic, you know, spiritual culture comes from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaking to the Supreme Being is speaking to Arjuna, the great warrior on the battlefield, just before a great battle at Kurukshetra. So the essence of spiritual knowledge is there. In the second chapter, it talks about that we're not the body, that we're the soul, and the soul cannot be killed. No, so even though the body can be killed, but the soul cannot be killed at any time. Like that. That we're aja, means unborn. The soul has no birth. Nitya, we're eternal. Shashvata, everlasting. Purana, we have no history. We're so old. We're the oldest. Like that. Nahanyate, hanyamane sharire. This body is called sharira in the Vedas. It means this material body. But when the body is killed, hanyate, then the soul is not killed, hanyamane. So we're not killed when the body is killed. Definitely the body will be killed. There's no doubt in anyone's mind about that. Well, there shouldn't be. Definitely we're an illusion if we think that that the body's not going to die. You know? And if you think that you're going to die when your body dies, that's another illusion. You know? So if you think the body is not going to die, you can preserve it by taking some pills from the doctors or whatever like that. There's going to be some magic antidote for death of the body or whatever, then that's an illusion. You know? And but also another illusion is to think that when the body dies that's the end. No, it's not the end. Actually the soul is eternal. We're just temporarily in this body and we'll be shifted to another body at death if we don't get liberated. But actually the goal is to get liberated, you know, not to be shifted into another temporary body and go through it all again, right? Another birth, another old age, another disease, another death. So the idea of Vedic culture, that's the essence of Vedic culture, is to finish this cycle of birth and death, get free from changing bodies and get back into our eternal blissful existence. And that's the purpose of Vedic culture. So so why, getting back to Prabhupada, why did he say, you know, he'd shoot the person if he tried to shoot him? You know, so why try to defend the body if you have that spiritual knowledge? Well, because this human body is really useful for one thing particularly, and that's spiritual realization. And that takes time. That takes time to develop a 100% complete spiritual realization. So we don't want to die, you know, all of a sudden, you know, before we're enlightened, you know. So we should protect the body up to that point. If someone's threatening it, then we have a right to protect it. And also that no one has a right to take this body away. It's God that's going to, you know, decide when it's time to leave the body. He made the body. He's going to decide when your time's up, mate. You've got to go now. It shouldn't be anyone else that like plays the role of God and, you know, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill you and like that and take that away. So no one has the right to do that. So anyone that tries to do that, you know, it's you know, you should protect the body because it's actually God's body. The body belongs to the Supreme Being. It's His instrument meant for His service. And you know, the human body can be used for very useful service. Like I said, the most useful service is is for self-realization. So if someone's using it for self-realization, it would be a great tragedy, a great loss for the whole world, you know, for people that are practicing self-realization to be killed. You know, so that body should be protected. So he's saying, you know, that if someone tried to kill his body, he would try to protect the body. You know, so we have a right, you know, it's a law of nature for self-preservation. But there's great competition in the material world between all the different species to try to survive, because everyone's trying to do that. Everyone's trying to keep their body alive. You know, so that creates and to keep your body alive, you need to consume. That's the thing we have to realize. You have to consume another living being's body, isn't it? Even well, a meat eater, you know, he's eating animals or whatever, but even say, oh, well, I'm not eating animals, I'm a vegetarian. But even a vegetarian, you're consuming the bodies of plants. You know, different plants, you know, are being consumed. So that's the body of some other living entity. So that's there. In the Vedas it said, Jivo jivasya jivanam. One living thing subsists or maintains himself on another living thing. So that's the law of nature. You can't escape that. One person was criticizing me when I did a post about, and I mentioned how I kill beetles that are, you know, attacking my fruit trees. And but what to do? You know, if I want to get any fruit or, you know, grow any food at the end of the day, you know, I have to protect those things. Otherwise, you know, there's a whole lineup of pests and bugs, you know, and stuff that are waiting to devour, all those things that are food for the human beings. So, and I told the person that, you know, you're buying all your fruit and veggies from the supermarket. You know, there's 10 times more or even more than that killing going on there. You know, the other farmers, commercial operations, they're killing big time to produce your food. Big time. I'm a small fry. You know, the amount of, you know, death that I'm, you know, causing. But basically that's the fact that, you know, for one living thing to live, it means others living things have to die. And, you know, what do they say, right? Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest, you know, like that. That the strong subsist on the weak, you know. And so that's the law of nature, survival of the fittest. But no one's really fit enough at the end of the day, right? Because like I said, at the end of the day, every creature, doesn't matter how fit and strong and big and powerful you are, the body has to die, you know. So this fear we have of death is based on that illusion that we think we're the body, you know. So Vedic culture, the first thing it tells us, mate, you're not the body. So then what we should notice, the more you theoretically understand that, and then you should try to apply that in your life, that knowledge, then you can get to the point where a lot of the fears go away. A lot of the fears go away. So the amount of fear will drop down. I mean, like I said, you can't make it zero, because then, you know, you're not going to protect your body at all. And the body does need to be protected. You know, there's so many dangers for the body. You know, so a little bit of fear is healthy to keep your body alive, but don't let it, you know, take over your whole life and day and night. Like, you know, like we know one person that's like super afraid of. Actually, I know a few people that are super afraid of dogs. You know, and even when the dog's not there, close to them, then they're just in so much anxiety, so much worry, which is actually really bad for the health, to always be in anxiety and stress and worry all the time. It's so bad for the health. But, you know, I mean, sure, if a dog is attacking you at that time, you're going to be afraid. And what are you going to do? Run away. Like one time I was attacked by a dog. And it actually, it bit me on the leg. But just before it bit me, I was running away, but it was too fast, so it bit me. But, so there was fear there, and that was the mechanism to protect me from being, gobbled up by a dog. And I was saved, the body. And, but don't be afraid of like a dog 24 hours a day, even when there's no dog around you. That's just ridiculous. Even another person, right, my wife was talking with them on the phone, and they were far, far away, like that, far, far away. They were about, the city they were in is about 15 hours by car, right? 15 hours by car where they live. So, and my wife so the camera could show our dog. And as soon as the lady saw our dog, she was afraid. But why? The dog's not going to eat you from so far away or whatever like that. That's just, it's in the mind, that fear in the mind has got too far extreme like that. So these things we need to keep them under control, or, purify ourselves of these emotions that to a point where they become too negative. It's meant to protect us, right? The fear, not to kill us. Because if you have too much fear, it's going to kill you, through the worry and anxiety and things like that. So the best way, like I said, to deal with that fear is by realizing that we're not the body. So, okay, even though the body may die or whatever, but I'm not going to die. Basically we're immortal. We're eternal. So if you realize that, then really there's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. And what's the point of worrying about something you can't do anything about? Like, can you do anything about the body dying? I mean, ultimately, no. It will die. It's just a matter of when, whether it's today or tomorrow or next year or in 50 years or whatever. But you can't really, worry about something you can change, right? Worry about something you can change, and then change it, and then you don't need to worry about it anymore. But why worry about something you can't change? And it's just going to eat you alive like that. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about something you can't do anything about like that. So, and according to the Vedas, the best way to actually, theoretically we have that knowledge we're not the body, we're the soul, but practically, how do you realize that? And it said the best method of realizing that is by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And this is actually mentioned in the Vedas as the process for purifying our consciousness. So the consciousness is very impure at the moment, very contaminated, like we've talked about before, by lust, by greed, by anger, by envy, by pride, by fear, like these kind of things. So, and the process recommended for clearing off this impurities and contamination on the consciousness, which is covering our original pure consciousness that we're a spiritual being, is covered by all this material contamination. So the best way to do that is by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So I've written the mantra in the comments to the talk we did on offering food, but I'll say it again: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is recommended. If you think there's another way that you can realize you're the soul and get free from fear and that, go for it. We're not stopping you, but we're just trying to present to you the Vedic conclusions, and they're perfect conclusions, established right from the beginning of day one of time, and accepted and authorized by great authorities, throughout the universe. I don't know if you know any of these names: Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and more recently great spiritual teachers, acharyas, gurus like that. So have said that the Vedas is the number one, reference for finding out what's the truth, and evidence about how to progress in life, So it's like a guidebook, a universal guidebook. But if you think you have some other ways and means of achieving that, all the best. But this is like everything I present through these sessions is things that I practice myself and, I have experience about. So that's, I practice this chanting Hare Krishna. And I've been doing it for chanting for 30 plus years. So, and I find it really helps me a lot. And I have a lot less fear now than what I did 30 years ago. So that's what you want to see. What results are you getting? If you follow a process, you could say, well, I'm dealing with fear my own way. Okay, but, how is it going for you? Are you actually becoming less fearful as time goes on, or more fearful, or it's still the same? So if you're getting more and more fear over time, well, obviously you should look at a different process because it's not working. And if the fear goes down, well, then you must be onto something good. There's a Vedic aphorism which says, phalena parichate. Phala means fruit, and parichate means, like judge. So you judge a particular process by the fruits or the results, by the results that you're getting. So if you follow a particular practice and you're getting good results, then that's brilliant. Don't stop, continue. And if you're doing something and it's giving you bad results or not the results you want, then look elsewhere. So that's science, right? We should try to be scientific. Why keep following, just, Western ideas and ideologies and philosophies and stuff, and, if it's producing really bad results, we're all stressed out and anxiety and afraid and everything by following all the Western things. And why do we continue doing that? It's just like dumb, So we should be truly scientific and see, are we getting good results or we're not, So then we should, try to do like that. So yeah, fear of death is, we have to realise it's unnecessary, because the body has to die, you can't do anything about it, but the soul is never going to die, so there's nothing to be afraid of death. Death is just a change of dress. Just like I take the shirt off and put on a new shirt. So according to the Vedas, death is like that, the death of the body. It's just like changing, this old shirt is all ripped, it actually is quite ripped in that, so you throw that one away and you get a new one. So death is like you're throwing away the old shirt, and birth is like you're getting a new shirt, like that. So it's just a change of garments. So when you start to understand like that, then, you don't need to be afraid, just changing the dress, like that. So, but actually, there is a healthy kind of fear to keep. And what is that? What is that? That is to have a fear that, okay, when this body does die, the soul may, due to my bad karma, we talked about that in some previous talk, if we do bad karma in that, and then due to that bad karma after death, then the soul may go down into a lower species of life. So I might be born as a cockroach or a worm or a pig or a dog or a fly or whatever like that, depending on what my karma has been. And that's actually said in the Vedas, that, according to your karma in this life, that determines where you're going to go in your next life. So that is something that's healthy to be afraid of. And that's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. You can check that out. If you don't have Bhagavad Gita, I highly recommend you get one. And in the second chapter, text 40, Nihabi kramana shosti pratyavyo nividyate swalpamapyasidhamasya trayate mahato bayat. That the greatest fear, it's said, trayate mahato bayat. Mahato means greatest, and bayat means fear. So the greatest fear is that when we leave this body at death, then the soul goes down to a lower species. And then it takes a hell of a long time to work your way back up to get another chance to be a human being. Because the human form of life is the only form of life which gives us an opportunity, according to the Vedas, to get liberated from material existence. Because we have the potential for a higher consciousness, a higher awareness, higher knowledge in human life. Unfortunately, 99.9% of modern day human beings don't utilise that opportunity. And what do with their human life? Like the 4 things we talked about: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending or fearing. So that's all their life is, which is the same as what the animals do, same as what the birds and the plants do, is, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Nothing more than that. But actually, human being, of course, we do those things, but we're supposed to do one thing more than that. What's that? Self-realization. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I suffering? Where did I come from? Is there a solution to my suffering? Like that. How do I get liberated or freed from material existence? Like that. So that's the real value of the human life. If we lose that human life and go down into like a cockroach is not going to be thinking about, I better chant Hare Krishna to, purify myself. It's not going to be doing that, So that's something to be afraid of, and that's a healthy kind of fear. Why? Why is that healthy to be afraid of getting a lower, reincarnation? Why is that healthy? Because then we'll get our act together now. Well, I don't want to fall down and become a worm my next life, so I better get my, act together, and I better start chanting, and I better, stop, doing bad karma and stuff like that. Of course, like we mentioned, that you can't really avoid all the bad karma, because, if I'm going to walk somewhere, right, I have to stand on something, ants are going to be there, I can't see them even. If I'm going to cook something, like I said, I'm going to eat something, I'm eating the body of some dead plant, and there's going to be a reaction for killing the body of the plant, like that. There's a reaction for that. There's even karma, for killing your cauliflower and your lettuce and stuff. There's karma for that. Less karma than killing a cow or a sheep or something. Because the more suffering you cause, the more suffering is there, the more karma, right? So there's more suffering in, like, for example, killing a sheep or a pig or whatever. It's more conscious, so it feels more suffering when it's killed than what a lettuce doesn't feel so much. Still it does, but still a worm does feel something if you kill the worm or like that, but not as much. So there's more karma, or, according to the more suffering, for killing some things than others. But still, even killing a lettuce or whatever, or killing an ant, there's some reaction that's going to come to us for that. So you can't completely avoid karma. And like we explained in the talk on offering your food, that's the way to deal with that bad karma, is by connecting your activities with the Supreme, to try to please the Supreme. Please the Supreme by offering your food, please the Supreme by talking about Him, by glorifying Him, by chanting mantras and things like that. This is called Bhakti Yoga. So by this process of Bhakti Yoga, or trying to make all your activities an act of devotion, an act of love for pleasing the Supreme, that nullifies and frees us from all the bad karma, and then you're out of here. Then when your body dies, you don't have any bad karma or good karma. You just transcend. You completely get liberated from the material world. So that's something that is healthy to be afraid of. That if I just do bad karma, I'm going to go down to a lower form like that. So that's an impetus. Well, I better get it together. So that's a good kind of fear to have. But just being afraid of, my body's going to die, oh no, that's something you have to snap out of that. That's just illusion. We're an eternal soul. There's nothing to be afraid of like that. So this is the consciousness. We want to educate ourselves and help educate others. If you really love your kids or your parents or whatever, teach them this. That they're not the body, that they're an eternal soul. Otherwise, they're also going to be living in fear, like everyone else, and just going crazy and creating atomic bombs and that, trying to protect yourself forever or whatever. It's just madness. It's completely insanity. Completely insanity. So, we need to have a paradigm shift. So what's the paradigm shift? The paradigm we're in now is we think we're the body. I'm a Kiwi, I'm a New Zealander, I'm 51 years old, my name is Aaron Walker, and, this is my wife and my house and my car, and, this is my country and everything like that. And we want to shift that, because that's not what we are. That's just, you've just talked about what your shirt is, you know, but who are you? You know, so we're an eternal spiritual being. We're an eternal spirit soul, and we're part and parcel of the supreme spiritual being. And we have a loving relationship with that supreme being like that. So this is our real identity. That's the real ego. Otherwise, that's the false ego. All the body and the labels of the body, that's the false ego, false identity. So we don't want to get rid of our ego, but we want to get rid of our false ego. Like that. So, and then you become fearless. Then you become fearless. And that was the name given to our great spiritual teacher when he was born. His parents gave him that name, Abhay. Abhay Charan, when he was born. Abhay means without fear, and Charan means feet, specifically God's feet. So when we're under the shelter, when we come under the shelter, under the protection of the Supreme Being, who's all-powerful, who's all-strong, then under that protection of the all-powerful, all-strong personality, then we can become free from fear, totally free from fear. You know, so that was his name given from birth. And my teacher, who's one of his disciples, named me after his teacher. So he named me Abhay Charan Dasa. So Dasa means servant. So the servant of my name means the servant of one who is fearless, being under the shelter of God, the shelter of Krishna's feet, like that. So if we really want to experience fear, this is where we want to go to. Because like I said, we're completely helpless. And there's so many things that can kill us, kill this body, like that. Even like a little virus, right? And you're finished. You're just completely gone. Or a vaccine or whatever, and you're completely gone. You know, there's so many things. Or someone puts a bullet in your head or whatever. So you fall off a cliff or hit a car or have a heart attack. Or, you know, there's unlimited ways that the body can be killed and everything. So we're completely helpless. We can't do anything to protect ourselves. You know, but the best thing we can do is take shelter of the almighty, unlimited, all-powerful Supreme Being. And then you're safe. Then you're secure. Then that's the position in which there's complete fearlessness. Yeah, so have a think about it. Apply your intelligence. Don't just blindly, you know, have to accept what I'm saying, but just have a think about it. Is it logical? Does it make sense? Like that. And try to apply some of the things, like I said, like chanting, and see. Do you, after 6 months of chanting, have you got less fear than what you did 6 months ago? If not, don't do it. You know, if not. But if it does, well, maybe continue. And like me, I just kept going for 30 years because I'm getting good results. But yeah, everyone's different, you know, so try it yourself. But if you don't try it, how do you know? How do you know if you don't try it? You know, let's say test of the pudding is in the tasting. If you don't want to taste it, then how can you say it doesn't taste any good? Okay, all the best. You take care.